One of the things I did with this unit, with the rhetorical analysis, because I felt that my students were still struggling with identifying good, strong success criteria, is I did an object lesson with them in the beginning before we established anything about rhetorical analysis. I gave them, I brought in cookies, and they had to, we talked about the base of the cookie is the purpose, and then I gave them frosting and they had to frost the cookie, and we related that to the appeals. And then I gave them sprinkles, and they, sprinkled on their cookies and decorated. And we talked about how those were the strategies, because the main thing with rhetorical analysis is you have to have all three components. And so we put that right away at the top of our success criteria. And anytime they are writing, that's the language we're using is, okay, what part of the success criteria are you meeting? And then they will refer to it as the sprinkles or the frosting or, the appeals. And I can see now, as we've done, a few of these, that they're able to make that quick connection and then tie it to a specific appeal, like pathos, or a strategy like diction. On the board, I typed out for us what we have established with our AP language essays, our criteria for being able to answer those questions, okay? So we have our goal, which is analyzing the rhetoric, style, and content to evaluate the power of the text. So focusing on those clearly stated strategies. Remember, that's the sprinkles that point to the appeals, frosting of the cookie, remember, that point to the purpose, okay? Then we talked about delicious vocabulary and varied syntax, looking at our evidence and analysis that goes beyond summary. So we talked about, when we got the synthesis essays back on Monday, we talked about looking and making sure you have more than just one text evidence to support your purpose, and then your organization, okay? So on Wednesday, you looked over and created an outline for how you would answer this prompt. I'm gonna ask you to take a moment, and I want you to self-assess where you're at with the understanding and execution of this prompt. So take, not in one sentence, that's not telling me enough, but in a few sentences, where are you at right now? If I was going to make you write the essay, how are you feeling with this prompt? Okay, so kind of assess your content knowledge and how you would execute that prompt. You are replacing said in that sentence. So same as you did the other day, you want 5 replacements. We're working on vivid language, remember? Indeed. So I'll give you a couple minutes, jot that down. I am going to collect it. And you want to have the connotation. So I'll give you like 2 or 3 minutes at your table, kind of survey, and then we'll collect those. And Tori?
Proclaimed.
Good one. And connotation?
Arrogant, assured.
Very nice. Sarah?
Shrieked.
Oh, shrieked the answer. Connotation?
Extreme emotion.
Extreme emotion. That was the...
Could be positive or negative.
Yes. Excellent. So think about what we've been looking at, which is in your writing, especially as you are working on your research papers. We have a lot of the author says or things like that. So think about which words you could utilize, okay?
And then I wonder if anybody put like diction or her word choice. Yeah. So that probably would have also been a good one to add to this.
Yeah, because she really used a lot of good diction throughout the piece. Honestly, I wish I could use that good of diction throughout my piece.
And it kind of ties into what we've been doing for the warm-ups. Like Pink Flamingos flashed into the 50s, so direct verbs are more vivid verbs to use.
I really like that. It connects really to the lesson of diction because like this was a good way to seeing how like by specifying and choosing like keywords that would elaborate the piece more. Like I like the word of like the flamboyant oasis because it really states and gives you a picture of what that oasis is kind of looking, and just adds more to and just another useful skill to reveal her view of the United States culture.
Whenever they are writing or working in a discussion of analyzing a prompt, we have the success criteria, and if a group feels like, well, I've already answered the purpose, then they go down the criteria, and when there's downtime, kind of discuss, okay, what would we do with this part of the success criteria? So, and I've been most impressed with the fact that as they are writing, they're constantly looking at the screen and looking at, okay, is my, we named it delicious vocabulary, but, is my vocabulary vivid, and am I altering my word choice, and are my sentences varied to keep the reader engaged? And so they're continually referring back to that criteria. The strategies, it's any of those figurative language ones that like imagery, anaphora, metaphor, simile. You can look at syntax, diction, some of the grammatical things we've looked at, like the sentence, short, simple sentences versus complex. You can talk about parallelism. And then there is, when we did the MLK lesson, we talked about, I gave you that little practice sheet, and it had some of the fancier terms like juxtaposition, antithesis, some of those. So you can also look at some of those.
So for a basic outline, you start with the rhetorical précis, and then you identify the three things, and then do cookie for each one, and then conclude.
And do what for each one?
The cookie thing, where
so looking at what's the strategy, how does it point to the appeal, how does that contribute to the purpose?
And what's a good way to conclude the entire essay?
The conclusion, I would just emphasize the purpose and kind of the why did they write this, which I've heard lots of students say, especially on this prompt, why'd they write about flamingos? On that yellow slip of paper I gave you, pick someone to jot down what are one or two questions you still have regarding one of our success criteria up here for this prompt. So are you stuck on purpose? Are you stuck on how you would analyze a strategy? Are you stuck on text evidence? Aim for 2 questions you still have. All right, this is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to keep coming around to tables, okay? I'm going to ask you to flip over to the back. And this is what I would like you to show me. I want you to take one of your body paragraphs, focus in on one of them, one of the strategies, and I want you to go ahead and write the body paragraph. So what would you write? And look at all of our success criteria up there. So clearly state the strategy and focus in on that vivid vocabulary, the varied sentence structure, and particularly your evidence.